Seeing revealed here a very ancient world. We know that this is very ancient because the overlying layer even is old and heavily cratered. But this was a very different world on Mars. This was a soaking wet world where we formed clays and small-scale morphologies that we don't normally see on Mars, where the channels weave in and out. This is characteristic of streams carrying sediment, where the slope changes and it can no longer hold all of its sediment. It drops its load, and then the channel weaves around these deposits of sediment. So that tells us water flowed in this area. I can take a shot at that. There are the kinds of features we've seen that we haven't seen before. Small-scale features like joints. That's places where the rock is fractured but not moved apart. And evidence for water flow along some of those joints. We see rocks, lots and lots of rocks at smaller scales, and this tells us a lot about the processes of how, for example, how the bedrock breaks down and how the rocks vary in size and shape as they move away by erosion, different processes. This is very, very different. It's a dark layer, probably mostly sand, with thin layers of ice. They're not horizontal, they pinch out. Something very different happened on Mars. The climate was very different to produce that layer. That's totally different from the overlying layers, and these we see at the bottom here, a repeat of layers that look very similar to the top. So there is a history here of climate change on Mars.
It's been a really dynamic history of changing climate that's recorded in layers of ice, much like the way we would determine Earth's climate change by going back and looking at a core of ice in Greenland. That's the kind of history we're seeing here at Mars.
This is the clay-rich material that Scott was talking about that's of such interest because it means the environment here was wet. We see a variety of small-scale features. We see small channels, as in water. We see the bright material is broken up into little plates, which in some places looks like it could be desiccation. Here is one gully that's partially sunlit. Most of these are in shadow. What impresses me most about this is that this is really a system of gullies. It's a complex, evolved landform. It didn't just form one day when water seeped out of the ground or melted